Welcome everyone. In this session, we will be studying the measurement of blood pressure. As you all know, measurement of blood pressure is an important clinical procedure which provides valuable information about the cardiovascular system under normal and disease conditions. Now, what is blood pressure? It is a lateral pressure exerted by a column of blood on the vessel containing it. It is expressed as systolic blood pressure over diastolic blood pressure in millimeters of mercury. What is systolic blood pressure? It is the maximum pressure exerted during the systole. And what is diastolic blood pressure? It is the minimum pressure exerted during the diastole. What is pulse pressure? It is the difference between the systolic pressure and the diastolic pressure. Now, what is mean arterial pressure? It is the average pressure throughout the cardiac cycle, which is equal to the diastolic pressure plus 1/3 of pulse pressure. In this video, we will learn to record blood pressure in a normal individual in their sitting, standing and recumbent position. Moving on to the methods of measurement of blood pressure, we have two methods, namely direct and indirect method. Direct method involves insertion of a cannula into an artery, and the other end of the cannula is connected to a mercuric manometer, and the pulsations of the artery is noted as the blood pressure. It being an invasive procedure, it is highly inconvenient and high risk of infections. It is done in experimental animals as part of research purposes. Indirect method is done using an apparatus called the sphygmomanometer devised by Rivarocci. Here for the clinical examination, we use the indirect method. Now let's familiarize with the apparatus. The apparatus required are the sphygmomanometer and the stethoscope. Now let's familiarize with the sphygmomanometer, which is a rectangular box. It has got a black button. As you press, the lock opens. It has got three parts: the mercury manometer, rubber bag with linen cuff and the air pump. Mercury manometer has a long limb graduated from 0 to 300, and each division corresponds to 2 millimeters of mercury. And that is the reason why the readings are always obtained in even numbers. The short broad limb of manometer acts as a reservoir from which mercury can be pushed into the long limb. The long limb is provided with a valve to prevent the spilling of mercury. A rubber tube is attached to the opening at the top of reservoir, and it is connected to the Rivarocci cuff. You can feel a soft elastic rubber bag covered with linen cuff. It has got two rubber tubes attached to it. One of the rubber tubing is attached to the air pump and the other to the mercury reservoir. The width of the cuff varies for adults and children. The width of the bag should be 20% more than the diameter of the arm. Size of cuff in different age groups are: for infants below 1 year, 2.5 centimeters, below 4 years, 5 centimeter, below 8 years, 8 centimeter, and for adults, 12.5 centimeters. Air pump. It is a thick but flexible rubber pump which has two openings guarded by valves and allows airflow only in one direction. Cuff can be inflated to the desired pressure by means of this air pump. Air can escape by means of screw attached to the pump. Stethoscope. It has got two earpieces and a chest piece. The chest piece has a diaphragm on one side and a bell on the other side. By turning the chest piece, either the diaphragm or bell can be used. Chest piece is connected to the earpieces by means of a Y-shaped tube. When the stethoscope is being used, the earpieces are placed into ears such that they face forward and medially. Before doing any procedure, first we have to introduce ourselves to the subject, then examine by standing on the right side of the subject, also explain the procedure and get consent from the subject. Moving on to the examination proper, we have two methods, palpatory and auscultatory method. Before starting the procedure, Check the apparatus for any leak. Seat the subject comfortably by placing the right arm and the apparatus almost at the heart level. The subject has to be seated mentally and physically relaxed. Ideally, the right arm has to be exposed up to the shoulder level. Also check the mercury column in the manometer is at 0 level and the valve has to be turned on. Now let's see how to tie the cuff. The uninflated cuff of sphygmomanometer is wrapped firmly around the bare upper arm 2.5 centimeters above the elbow joint at the level of heart. The tightness of the cuff should be in such a way that just 2 fingers can be slid underneath. Always, palpatory method has to be done before doing the auscultatory method. This is to avoid auscultatory gap, which will be explained later in this video. First, we have to palpate for the radial pulse. Before starting to inflate, make sure the air pump screw is tightened by rotating in the clockwise direction. Pressure in the cuff is elevated until the pulse disappears. The cuff is then slowly deflated. When the pulse reappears, the manometer reading is noted. Reading at which the pulse reappears corresponds to the systolic blood pressure. The disadvantages of palpatory method is that only the systolic blood pressure can be measured. Another important point to be noted here is that whenever we take a manometer reading, there are chances of parallax error. And this parallax error can occur whenever the viewing angle is other than the angle perpendicular to the mercury column. Now moving on to the auscultatory method. For this, we require a stethoscope. As mentioned earlier, the earpiece has to be directed forwards and medially by placing it into the ears. Now check for the diaphragm of the chest piece. If the diaphragm is on, by tapping on the diaphragm, you can hear a tapping sound. Now to palpate for the brachial artery, flex the forearm and to the medial side of the biceps tendon, you can feel for the brachial artery pulsation. Now place the diaphragm over the brachial artery pulsation felt. Inflate the cuff rapidly until the pressure in it is 20 to 30 millimeters of mercury above the systolic blood pressure obtained by palpatory method. The brachial artery gets occluded by the cuff and no sound can be heard with the stethoscope. Now slowly deflate the cuff until a tapping sound is heard. Observe the manometer reading when the first tapping sound is heard, which corresponds to the systolic blood pressure. Then slowly deflate the cuff, listening to the serial changes in the sound. Note the manometer reading when the sound completely disappears. This corresponds to the diastolic blood pressure. The series of sound heard during deflation are called Korkov sounds. It is divided into 5 phases. Phase 1, sudden appearance of a clear tapping sound. It becomes louder during 10 to 15 millimeter mercury fall of pressure. Phase 2, sound becomes soft and murmuring in the next 10 to 15 millimeter mercury fall of pressure. Phase 3, murmuring character continues but becomes louder and clear in the next 5 to 7 millimeter mercury fall of pressure. Phase 4, sound becomes soft and muffled. Phase 5, sound completely disappears. As I have already mentioned in this video, the palpatory method is done before the auscultatory method to avoid auscultatory gap. This auscultatory gap is seen in hypertensive individuals while recording their BP in the auscultatory method. It happens when the Korokov sounds disappear temporarily in the phase 1 and 2, covering a range of 40 to 50 millimeters of mercury pressure, and the cause for this silent gap is unknown. And there is a chance of marked underestimation of systolic blood pressure when the pressure is raised in the cuff only up to the level of disappearance of Korsakoff sound. Just like the measurement of BP in the sitting posture, you need to also measure BP in the standing and recumbent posture. Now for the measurement of BP in the supine or the recumbent posture, we ask the subject to lie quietly on a couch for 5 to 10 minutes and the recording of BP is done. In supine position, the venous return increases, which leads to increase in cardiac output and increase in systolic blood pressure. Hence, the systolic blood pressure is maximum in the supine position. Now for recording BP in the standing posture, the subject is asked to stand from the supine position and the recording of BP is done immediately. While recording the BP, make sure the apparatus is kept almost at the level of heart, also to avoid parallax error while noting the manometer reading. On standing, there is peripheral pooling of blood in dependent parts which decreases the venous return, thereby decreasing the cardiac output. Hence, there is a fall in the arterial pressure in the upper part of body. This causes less stimulation of baroreceptors, which in turn causes strong sympathetic discharge and elevates the diastolic blood pressure. Also, there is an increase in the peripheral resistance, which increases the diastolic blood pressure. Hence, the diastolic blood pressure is maximum in standing position. However, the diastolic blood pressure returns to normal level after 1 to 2 minutes of change in posture due to the operation of baroreceptor reflexes. The result has to be mentioned in the following way. For palpatory method, the systolic blood pressure, and for auscultatory method, systolic over the diastolic blood pressure. For both, the limbs used and the posture of the subject has to be mentioned, and this has to be repeated in sitting, standing and recumbent posture. With this, we are concluding our session on measurement of blood pressure. Thank you.